like the last 6 years was working in a 1099 sales job. And so it taught me a lot, and I liked it. There was parts of that I liked. The job wasn't a fit really for the long term, but it taught me a lot of pieces about, I kind of always gravitated towards real estate. And so it taught me maybe some of the pieces that helped me kind of keep the rest of this, understanding how a house works, it's built, the functional pieces. I knew that, and but I didn't necessarily always understand the sales side or some of the other pieces. So that kind of pushed me through that, and then got me into kind of that real estate bug, if you will, what people talk about. 2018 is when I started. So basically I focus on cash flow rentals, and kind of in the Midwest area. It's, on the personal side, I've got, about 14 rentals, and then I also have a partnership as well that started in 2019. And we just got off the ground with that in August, and doing well. I mean, probably get about 20 doors there. And so we don't really play as much of the appreciation game, but definitely the monthly cash flow, and that is kind of our space for right now. When the first time we first talked about it, the Series LLC, I'd heard about it, but I got it, but it didn't really click. And then it was kind of like, kind of some of the clientele that we work with, literally, it's nothing against anybody, but they don't have any idea of getting rich besides either winning the lottery or winning a lawsuit. And so that kind of dawned on me that it's like, hey, maybe if we're hard to find, that's just one extra step of protection that, makes us, just kind of in a better place. And so when we spoke about that was kind of one step. And then just, I would say the rest of it was just the all, like I spoke about before, with the all encompassing pieces that we could put in. We needed an estate plan. It wasn't that we didn't have something, but our family had grown, we had moved, we have, more assets than the last time we had set stuff up, and we needed something that was kind of flexible. And so, it just kind of answered a lot of the questions or the pieces that we had out there. Instead of being kind of in separate areas, we put all the pieces into one bucket. So I get a call. Here's a live example. I get a call today from my property manager. He says, "Well, we got a chance that we could get sued." And I said, "Okay, great. Sounds awesome. Fill me in." So he said, and really what this was is, it's nothing against the tenant. It was just, she's just not a fit. Her payments come in cycles. So she'll go and not pay for 2 or 3 months on time, go through the eviction process, and then, wham, a whole wave of money comes through. So it was really a lady, she's in the eviction process now, and don't have any ill will or wishes, but just want to move her out. It's, she needs to pay, and that's part of the deal. And we don't ask a whole lot. Of rents aren't crazy high. We just need them to do some simple things for us. And then I find out today, it's like, well, there's mold in the house, and there was a work order placed in October that has never been addressed, and supposedly now a child has gotten sick from it. And so it's one of those things or ever things that I want in my property, for one. So I'm very frustrated with the property management company, just because, there's just no reason, no excuse not to. But now we also had a situation where we had a lady that the eviction date is set. We're moving this along, and now we've really opened ourselves up for, we have to be very on top of things. If we're not on top of things, we've either got a chance to have to reinstate the tenant and mitigate all the potential mold. I haven't seen it, so that could just be a tactic, but it's all things that can happen. And the more times you're buttoned up, the more things that we're prepared for, the less that can happen. Yeah, there was some people that did, 2 or 3 things maybe, or they thought they did. And so you'd interview them, and I guess I don't know, like some people, they just, I guess they felt or sounded like they knew what they were talking about, or they felt like they were, but when I asked some questions, they really couldn't answer it well. And so it just kind of created some question for me of like, okay, well, this is kind of the answer where we're getting in the start. I don't know if you're my best choice. So a lot of the questions that I asked, I could get a pretty simple answer for, or it was something that I didn't totally understand. So it was like, hey, I needed to get caught up on a few things. So that really kind of put me over the edge, if you will. I think like when we kind of talked about, I mean, there's expensive people out there that cover things and do really well. And there's cheaper people than you, but I think where you were was that you were at a good in-between price, but then also because of that, you're paying a little bit more, but you're getting access to quite a bit more and really increasing the value, I guess, for what you're paying for. And that was on top of that, just getting to, like I said, speaking with you and feeling sound about things, the price and the strategy. It was the best one I had for the options that were out there, for sure. I tried about 6 weeks. I tried to keep it concise. I talked to 5 people, and then but then also kind of went down the rabbit hole of their people that they work with, because some of them they did very minimal, meaning they did one thing, and then they had 3 or 4 people that you kind of worked with that weren't that they worked with but weren't under their quote unquote umbrella. So you you probably talked to 20 people, but there was 5 main groups that I kind of interviewed, if you will. I tried to get it pretty concise just because I needed to keep things moving. But yeah, that was probably about a 6-week process. Right now, the measurability of that is tough because we're still in the process. But on the flip side of it, from the very beginning of things, I wouldn't be able to pull off an estate plan, a series LLC, a traditional LLC, and a solo 401k by myself at this pace. One, I don't have the knowledge base, and then 2, I would have to take one piece at a time. And then, like a lot of things, if you don't know it, you actually start with the wrong piece, and then you either got to start over or adjust, or you did something wrong. So I think that question or an answer will kind of really play out, I'd say, in the next 6 months, to be able to give you maybe a better tangible explanation. But just in the beginning phases, I just know I couldn't do it this quick on my own. There was other people that said that they could do it faster when I was interviewing those other people, but I felt like I got a very cookie cutter approach, and it was like, okay, but this is how I want to do things a little bit differently, or what about this? And it got outside of their box pretty quick. So I felt like this was still flexible and, structurally sound. That was kind of a blur. I'm trying to think. I want to say maybe bigger pockets, but there could have been something else on YouTube. I don't remember exactly where it was, but then I really kind of tried to dive into a lot of your videos and some of that, and then that kind of introduced me to it. And then, like I said, that's when I reached out and was able to catch up with you and kind of learn your kind of plan, if you will. Well, I would say it was probably like speaking about like the Series LLC, and then just kind of I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember in a video going, okay, this is exactly what I'm looking for. I don't remember what it was, but it was just like, okay, there it is. Let's see if this actually is true. And then, like I said, then I called and we were able to connect a lot of dots, and it was just like, yeah, this makes, I don't know if you talk to so many people, but the first time I remember speaking with you, I was like, oh yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Okay, we got to dive into a few more pieces, but yeah, this sounds like the path to go with. Well, you did a good job. You asked. You always gotta. First off, you gotta ask. But the flip side of it was that I would say that when we could ask good questions, we could lay it out. Sometimes it's weird, maybe whatever, but I'd send you an email that laid out, hey, these are the things I'm looking at. This is what I'm looking at talking about. These are the things that we want to cover. They were answered. Sometimes that wasn't taken care of with other places. It was just kind of like, okay, yeah, we don't know what, we'll see. We'll get back to that. And so if you can answer the question or not know and then look it up, and by the time we're getting on a call, just go over it. It's a little thing, but that was important, just because I needed to. Everybody's time's limited, everybody's busy, and when we get things laid out, we can have a good plan. That was what I was looking for sure. Well, I've worked with a lot of people right now, and so that it's tough to put a value on it yet. Meaning that we get everything laid out. This is, like, I think Candace sent me some solo 401k emails midweek, but it was good. It was the value of it was I could look at it and say, okay, hey, there's 65 pages here, but these are the important ones. Look this part over, and then I have some questions on some contributions. So, I just shoot an email back saying, okay, not sure exactly what I'm selecting here. Can you help me with that? So the ability, I guess, that right now the value is I don't know everything. So if I can ask a question or get directed to somebody that can help me understand the decision I need to make, that's the current value. And then in the future, I would say, how we set that up then allows us to compound, and, like in the case of the solo 401k, use that money in a lot of different ways that really helps us take advantage of that system. Well, I mean, actually, I talked to a lot of young guys. I mean, it's like in our market, there's about 3 or 4 of us that are kind of all around the same area. And so it's, I kind of throw stuff out. They throw things out, what they're seeing, what they're doing. And so I think a lot of guys are scared to spend money on something that doesn't necessarily buy them a house. But I think they're also starting to see that it's like, oh, okay, like, as I get a family, as I have other things going on, this is something that I need to do, because I don't know how to do it. And I don't want to, they don't want to mess up, but they also maybe got a little paralysis, if you will. So I think I'm kind of leading the way on this one for those guys. But once they kind of see how a few things work, I think they would definitely be like, okay, yeah, I see. Now let's take care of that as well. So, it's kind of one of those pieces where if you're doing something and if you're building any kind of real estate asset base, do it from the beginning and just have the plan. I guess maybe that's the easiest way to put it is if you start out this way, it's a whole lot easier than unwinding something and then rebuilding it or putting it back together, or discovering all the things you could have been accessing and using for the last 3 years that are basically kind of wasted because you didn't set it up right the first time. I think the second time we called, I was like, I didn't know, but man, if I'd have done this in 2018, there were some things that would have saved me some money, but also probably we would have set up things that could have helped me a little bit sooner. So I didn't lose too much time, but not knowing doesn't help you. And then when you do know or do get a chance to kind of figure out how it can help you, waiting's not doing anything but delaying success.